about the sequencer. Now, I increasingly don't do sequencers in demonstrations because for me, they are largely a set of instructions. Their functionality could be listed off as words and you would know what that meant. There's no character or uniqueness that a sequencer brings to any synthesizer except for its functionality, which can be listed off. You don't need to know, what length or where accents can be placed. These things are things that if you use a sequencer, you already know what they sound like. There is some benefit to showing how certain functions behave, but really my demonstrations are typically about how synthesizers that have a set of normal functions sound different doing those functions. Just because the synthesizer has an oscillator doesn't mean that you know what its oscillator is going to sound like when it does what it does. With sequencers, that's not true. I mean, you know what a sequencer does. Now, I could demonstrate what this sequencer does with the sounds it has, but at the same time, then I'm just really demonstrating the sounds, and there's no difference between the sequencer playing those sounds and me playing them with my hands. So that's a lengthy explanation as to why I don't typically do sequencers anymore, but I thought I would run through this one really quickly just to give you a sense of the sense that I have of it. And that's another thing, I don't really use sequencers, so memorizing functionality of individual sequencers to me is not very useful. Unlike memorizing other functionality and the way it sounds when it does. Okay, so if we wanted to get to the sequencer, what we would do is we would press the mode button until we got down to the sequencer. And then what we would do is, since there isn't a sequence on here, we should go to step. And right now we have, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 steps. Okay. So we can actually record a sequence. Oh, this is on 2. This stores 16 sequences. That's important to say. And if you want to access those 16 sequences, you need to press Shift and then hold. And then it will be like, okay, which of these 16 do you want to load? I'm going to say 2. Now, then I guess you press Shift. So anyhow, that's how you find the sequences. But there aren't any sequences saved on here, so I'm just going to make one. So we'll go down to sequence, we'll go to step, and oh, this looks right. And I'll just start recording something. There are 16 sets, or there are 4 sets of 16 steps. Each of those steps can have 12 notes per step. So basically, you can fill up the entire polyphony on each step of this thing. It is a polyphonic sequencer, which is really cool. And you have 64 potential steps, and it's broken up into 4 sets of 16 accessible by the range button. So let's just add some stuff here. I see. It wants you to start. Okay, so let's hear how that sounds. We'll get this off. We'll turn this on. So there's our sequence. And pressing hold allows the sequencer to continue playing. It's kind of like a play button, really. And you can shift it. Is that like the lamest sequence ever used to demonstrate a sequencer? Anyway, I'm just demonstrating some basic function. Like with the arpeggiator, you can sync When you press sync, then of course now your LFO is synced to the sequencer's tempo, and so is your delay. So you can do things like this. So right now we've got the LFO is doing random sample and hold for every step. And of course we're going to bring in the delay. So we have both of those things happening. Okay. In addition to those things, you can also, I didn't mention this in regards to the arpeggiator. So someone will say it on the arpeggiator, but here's where it's said. If you press shift and range, you'll get swing, and you can choose 4 different types of swing. I don't know if I need to demonstrate that. You probably got a sense of that. Okay, the other thing is sequence record button has 5 different steps, and in them, the first one is just recording steps. The second one adds slides, which basically connects 2 different steps, and if you have portamento set, you'll hear the portamento. So there we go. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. So we now have a slide that I put in. You can put that anywhere you want in the midst of the range. Accent. We can put an accent here. I'm not sure. That might be tied to dynamics. Yep. So with the dynamics on, you can hear the accents. Rest, of course. I'll rest this guy. You can put rests in, and of course length. You can decide the actual length you can decide the actual length you want this thing to be. Right now we have it at 8 steps. It could be 16 steps, or it could be 32, or any amount that you want to set. You just basically choose the range, because like if you want it to be 37, you're going to have to go to 3 because it's 16, 32, etc. And then just press the note, the button, the associated button. I don't know if you've noticed, but like basically for each of these different 16 note sections, these selectors represent the 16 steps. I don't know if I said that. You've probably already figured that out. You probably have a greater grasp of this than I do. Anyhow, so that's a very basic exploration of what this does. You can also sync it to MIDI in the same way that I described in the arpeggiator video. You can also record modulations that you have added with the pitch bend, the horizontal modulations you've added with the pitch bend. So like, let's turn this on. And so if we're in, I think we have to be in step mode. So I can actually record modulations using the pitch, the mod wheel here. And I haven't done it. So how do you do it? Oh, as you record each note step. Yes, we're too late for that. But here, let's see if we can add. Let's say, see if this works. It does. So then I'll do this. So yeah, if you do the modulation with the mod wheel, as you record the note you put on the step, it will record that setting. So you do actually have a sort of modulation track. I could have, of course, used the pitch modulation as well, which could create some really interesting things, especially if you're using one of the oscillators for modulation of some other function. Anyway, so that is the sequencer, basically, very basically, on the UDO Super 6.